show you the results of my trifling experiments, I would like to drink to our partnership. Do you like gin? It is my only weakness. To a new world of gods and monsters.
Welcome back to the show, everybody.
Last episode of the month of October.
Is it now?
We had to do 5 episodes for this month.
Yeah.
It's an extra long month,
Boy.
so we fit in one last October movie.
Well, this is fun. This is a good one.
Yeah.
Everybody out there listening, welcome back, listeners. Boys and girls and everybody in between. My name's Pete.
And I'm Scott, and these are the movies that made us gay. Dipping into the classics again.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
I'm excited.
Classics are fun. Universal monsters. We love it.
Love it.
This bitch is fierce. Scott, talk about what we watched and who we have with us today.
Oh, we watched The Bride of Frankenstein from 1935, directed by Mr. James Wales, with our returning guest, Mitch Ralston.
Hi, everyone. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, Mitch. Welcome back to the show.
How has this month been treating you?
Well, 2020 sucks. I think everyone can agree on that.
Yeah, we're on board.
This is definitely the Halloween where you have to celebrate the Halloween that's in your heart.
Yeah.
You have to really get down to the meat of what Halloween is all about.
Yes.
I mean, for me, that's just eating lots of candy.
And watching movies.
Yeah, well, I mean, we watch horror. Okay, it doesn't have to be October to watch a horror movie
Not
in
at
this
all.
house. Let's just put that on the table. But yeah, we're pretty much watching scary movies every single day. This movie is in the pantheon of horror classics, featuring 2 Universal monsters.
Yeah.
Is it scary?
I mean, maybe to an audience in 1935.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that, Mitch?
When you watch a Universal Monsters movie, you have to realize it's not exactly scary, but like you just said, to 1935 audiences, this is terrifying.
Yeah.
And this was post Hays Code,
Right,
so
yeah.
a lot of the text of the movie, they had to like kind of add on almost religious overtones to. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
When it happens in the movie, but they had to really like make it have a moral. They had to like make it that like, oh, this is bad, this is good, this is what good is like, this is what bad is like. So it's not exactly scary, but it's a good movie.
Yeah. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. You know, it's just universally acclaimed. I don't think there's a bad review.
Widely regarded as one of the greatest sequels in like cinematic history.
Yes, this is just true.
So James Well didn't really want to make a sequel.
Yeah.
He said it would never live up to the original Frankenstein. And he really wanted to make like a more fun movie, as he put it. He wanted to make like and have more like laughs, more jokes. But really there's a lot of dark in the movie. Like
I think this goes down a little easier than the original movie because we were watching it like last week, and I think this movie has a quicker pace, and I think it's just a little more entertaining too.
It honestly it is of like the Universal Monster Frankenstein movies, because I've been watching pretty much all of them on Peacock now streaming.
Ah, yes.
Bum, bum,
I've been
bum.
watching pretty much all of them. Yeah, I've been watching pretty much all of them, and Bride of Frankenstein really it holds up the best. Like I was watching like just the beginning opening with Elsa Lanchester, and she's Mary Shelley, and then you just see like the maid walking by with the 3 giant ass dogs.
Yes,
and
I love that.
Those beautiful Afghans.
That gigantic
giant
window
Afghan hounds.
that they're standing in front of too.
I think that's
And
such
then
a
this
fun.
queen-
I think that's such a fun wrapper. Well, it's not really a wraparound. It's just at the beginning, but it's a really interesting way to start off this as a sequel and just say like, well, you thought that was the end, but guess what?
Previously on Universal Monsters.
Yes.
It was supposed to be a wraparound. There was supposed to be an ending scene. There was a lot of things that were cut due to studio meddling.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was there was going to be an ending scene with Mary Shelley, like, you know, saying like, oh, well, this is how, you know, that's kind of like summing up the moral of the story, summing up, like, don't play God, you know. And she kind of says that in the beginning, like, this is the chilling story, and he dared to play God. And meanwhile, like, Lord Byron's like, yes, these lightning bolts should strike me down, for I am the greatest sinner in all of history. And it's like, calm down, Queen.
Yeah.
Calm down, girl.
Calm down.
Yeah.
You get it.
Byron at the beginning of this movie, oh man, she is hamming it up. Like, wow.
She with her writing pans.
Yes.
Yes. They're very hunky.
Just rolling all those R's, just like every chance. Like, oh my goodness, that performance.
You know, he went and did like some snuff before the scene.
Yeah, and Elsa is so beautiful as Mary Shelley in that first scene.
She's gorgeous. Like, even as the bride.
Oh yeah, even as the bride.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, she's super fierce.
And
those eyebrows, her eyebrows are like bordering on like Vulcan. They're like so straight. There's like no arch.
So like delicate.
Yeah.
You know what else? Because I was like thinking about Elsa Lanchester. Do you know what else she was in?
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins.
She was in Mary Poppins.
Katie
she
Nana.
was also Willard's mom in Willard.
Oh, that's right. That's probably one of her last big credits too.
That was one of her last roles, was as Willard's mom in Willard.
Okay. I'm not familiar with. I mean, I'm familiar with Willard. I should say I haven't seen it. But
you really should. It's a fun view. I digress.
Yeah,
I think I've only seen the remake of Willard with Crispin Glover.
With Crispin Glover, interesting.
Crispin Glover being Crispin Glover for an hour and a half.
So this movie starts out with this fun little wraparound, and I love classic movies from like, I mean, is this the golden age of Hollywood? Sure. But these old black and white movies that typically have, like Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind, have like this dedication at the beginning, you know, things that just don't get done anymore. And, you know, at the beginning of this movie, the first thing that comes on screen at the credits, it just says Karloff, you know, and like,
smoky, like background.
Yeah. And in modern times, no actor would just be credited by their last name, but that was just part of like, culturally, like he was just Karloff. And you know, in the first movie, the monster, like he was credited all over it, but it was still a question mark. And in this movie, it's a question mark for her.
It's a question mark for the bride, yeah.
Yeah.
He got billing in this as, you know, Karloff as the monster, like in the end credits. Elsa Lanchester gets the question mark for the bride, and I kind of like that. I kind of like, who played the monster?
Yes,
but Elsa Lanchester also gets credit for being Mary Shelley.
Yes,
so she's still in the credit.
I know. I did notice that. I was like, okay, that's good. That's good for her. What I love though is that, like, okay, yeah, the last movie ended, the windmill exploded, you know, Baron Frankenstein is thrown from the top of the windmill.
He's thrown from the top of the windmill, and it becomes like a very noticeable, like, dummy.
Yeah.
And then...
But apparently, you know, the cure for having every bone in your body shattered, falling off of this windmill is just a couple days bed rest.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite scenes, and I was telling this to my friend when I was watching this, I was like texting him the whole time. One of my favorite scenes is, my favorite character in this whole movie is Una O'Connor as Minnie.
Icon.
Minnie.
Iconique.
So my list of like favorite Universal monsters are Una O'Connor, then Murray Uspenskaisa, the gypsy in the Wolfman.
Oh, okay.
And then Dwight. So he goes, that's my like. So she talks to like Elizabeth, and she's like, "Oh, he won't be talking again, milady." And then like a second later, like Henry Frankenstein's hand like falls over, and then he's like, Elizabeth, and it's like,
Oh my god!
I just imagine her with her like little Spanish senorita comb, like, "Are you making a fucking liar out of me?" Pardon my French.
Yeah, I believe we have. I believe we have a clip of that. I'm not sure that Scott. I don't know if you sent it to me, but you can just text it to me and I'll get it shortly. But while we're waiting on that, fun fact about Minnie and this actress Una. To me, she's giving off very Frau Blücher vibes.
Yes,
right.
Basically, that's what I feel like they based Frau Blücher.
Yes. And but my big thing about her is that because she's giving me very Frau Blücher vibes, and Cloris Leachman at the time of Young Frankenstein was probably in her 40s, but dressed up a little bit older.
Yeah.
Minnie just is a little old woman, right?
There's cuts of her when she's walking in the hallways and she just sort of shuffles like an old lady.
And she is a 1935 little old lady. So when you look up her age, Scott, how old do you think Una is?
50?
55.
Yeah.
She was born in 1880. In 1935, she would have been 55 years old.
This movie's old.
But 55?
My favorite.
That's like Jamie Lee Curtis is like 20 years older than her.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite thing about Minnie is I don't even know if she actually works at Frankenstein's house or if she's just like a village woman who just is a busybody and she just lives there now.
She just sitcoms her way into this castle every day.
She just chills there now.
That was another question. Yeah, I was like, what exactly does she do?
She's just as Kramer, I guess.
Baron Frankenstein.
Yeah, she's just Kramer. I feel like she's like one of the maids because she answers the door.
Yes,
like,
she does.
Constantly.
Yes. So,
but she's like,
go ahead.
Most of her time in the village too. So
she is everywhere at the drop of a hat. Anytime that monster is around, she is boom. Turn the camera, Minnie's there. She is definitely.
So she's like the first person in the village
Gladys
to
Kravitz.
see the Frankenstein monster. I mean, well, the first person to see the monster is
alive.
Hans, who is the father of the little girl who is drowned in the river in the first movie. So it's a callback. And
Hans's wife, she told him not to go in there.
Yeah, his wife's like, "Don't. Poor Maria's dead. Next you'll be dead. Then I'll be." Like Frankenstein's monster flat out kills that entire family.
Oh, yeah. Throws them down there.
Yeah. It's interesting because these movies kind of... The monster is not the villain of these movies. The monster, especially in this movie, is Dr. Pretorius. It's more so... The villain in the first movie is more so, the Baron. The monster is more like a victim. He's so innocent. Yet in this movie, the first thing he fucking does is like throw Hans into the pit.
And Hans falls in, and then the monster just like drowns him.
Yeah,
and then Hans' wife, the monster crawls out. Hans' wife, and he like tosses her down there, and you see her her
body
fall. Yeah, you see her body fall into like the water, and it's like, wow, this is violent.
Yeah, there's extensive use of dummies in this scene, and they're used when they need a body to hit a large object and look like that person is dead.
So, the Universal monster movies don't really have a good concept of time,
right?
Yeah,
because the prologue scene is set when Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, and that was 1818, even though in the credits it says 1816. But the story she's telling is set in they say 1899 as the date. So, I mean, they always say that Mary Shelley was the inventor of science fiction. So this is
right.
She set the story in the future.
Yeah. But also the male characters in the background are wearing knickerbockers. So they're wearing very period accurate, but period for the time the movie was made.
Valerie Hobson looks like she's just in a 30s glamour dress, too.
Oh, God. With her and her transatlantic accent and the way she hams it up. I sense a shadow above. It's coming closer.
There it is.
Closer. Yeah. And then she has her hysterics on his lap.
Yeah. I wanted him to just be no, that's my dresser. That's just that's a toaster.
me and my friend, when I was watching this, I was texting him. I'm like, oh my God, she's the worst.
Yeah, but I mean, going back a little bit to our pal Minnie and our favorite actress Una, we have a little clip of one of my favorite Minnie moments, and you already mentioned it, so let's take a listen.
She gives like a goofy scream at the end of it.
It has a little goofy holler.
I love how much of Minnie's lines are literally just her screaming.
Mm-hmm.
She has like a little senorita pin too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Like, she's the first person to see the Frankenstein monster, right? She's the first person like in the household to see it, and then she's telling everyone, "Oh my God, it's the monster! It's the monster!" And no one's listening to her. And she's like, "Well, forget them. I wash my hands. Let them die in their bed."
She has cried wolf one too many times. I'm not trusting Minnie if she's my hausfrau. I don't know about how accurate she is. So, when do we meet Dr. Pretorius?
Right after.
Yeah, right after.
So, to set it up, Elizabeth has her little psychedelic freak out, and then immediately after it's bang, 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 bang at the door. And Minnie comes in her like mob cap with her like rat, like her hair is like in a braid down her back. Mm-hmm. She's in her like pajamas. And
I love the little like candle,
it's the
like,
big candle with the mirror on the back.
Candle on the little like tray that she's carrying around. Very,
like it's like a flashlight of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She mentions to Professor Frankenstein, Baron Frankenstein, Henry. She's like, he's a queer fellow, and it's like, oh
boy. So, I mean, the thing is, we've been very meticulous thus far to refer to him as Baron Frankenstein because, he's not a doctor.
Yeah, they do mention Elizabeth after Frankenstein does get married. They mentioned Elizabeth is the Baroness. So,
right.
Yes, is Baron Frankenstein. And that is canon in the movie.
Question: in the book, is he Henry Frankenstein or Victor Frankenstein?
Victor.
I think he's Victor in the book because his friend is named Henry. The character that Tom Hulce played in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is named Henry Clavell.
Oh.
So is Victor in the book. In the original movie, he was changed to Henry because it was to make it more, I'm going to say, palatable to American audiences. That
Victor was a little too ethnic.
Yeah, Victor's a little too ethnic.
He's Victor again in Young Frankenstein. In Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein.
He is, yeah.
Played by the very handsome Colin Clive, who I believe starred in James Wales' first movie.
He was, and Colin Clive, as witnessed in Gods and Monsters, was rumored to be bisexual.
Yes, I want to talk about Gods and Monsters later too.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that. But he was also a very, very violent drunk.
Love
and
it. Interesting.
He almost they almost wanted to recast him because he was so drunk.
Elizabeth was recast, right?
Yeah, Elizabeth was recast because the original Elizabeth had she got sick. She was very ill and she couldn't be in the movie. So the studio wanted to recast Henry. But James Well refused it. He wanted to because he felt that the alcoholism made him more unhinged.
Sure,
made him unhinged, more like Stanislavski method. Or something
it comes across when he's creating life.
Yeah, when he's creating and his hair's all in his face and he's insane. Yeah.
Yes, he's another one. Colin Clive. He's another one that at the time of the making of this movie, 35 years old.
Yeah.
He looks to be about 48.
He even looks like he aged a lot in between Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein, too.
Well, Frankenstein was 31 and Bride of Frankenstein was 35, so it's only 4 years.
It must have been the booze.
But he he drank a lot.
Yeah.
Like he was a drunk.
Sure.
He was a drunk. So that kind of goes into it. Pretorius is introduced in this scene with Minnie and the whole thing, and he comes in, and a lot of Pretorius, as played by Edward Thesingers, a lot of his portrayal is kind of the as they described it in The Celluloid Closet, is a sissy portrayal.
Definitely.
Yes,
Yep.
indeed. He's got a little lisp.
So he's kind of like a proto Paul Lynde, like he's mincing and like like.
I actually thought that it was a little subdued. He has a little bit of a lisp, and in the big shot when he proclaims, the Bride of Frankenstein after this,
the Bride of
yes,
Frankenstein.
and his little hands are down there. That was very much like, oh girl, but I feel like it's not as overt
Yes.
as it could have been.
It pops when it needs to.
Yes. But definitely a sissy. Definitely a very an effeminate character for sure. Especially compared to Henry.
Also, he's they describe him as being like Henry's like mentor in the medical academy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like so proud of Henry's reputation creating the monster that he wanted to show his own experiments. And this is where the movie like kind of flies off the rails.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it turns into a weird episode of The Twilight Zone that no one talks about.
It's like a Looney Tunes bit there.
So okay, all cards on the table. I hadn't seen this movie all the way through. I don't think ever. I've seen bits and pieces, the opening sequence, the end scene, but I was blissfully unaware of Dr. Pretorius and his homunculi until
I was about to say what they're called.
Yeah, until about 2 hours ago. And I was like, I thought it was a coffin that he's pulling this thing out. And I was like, what's in the coffin?
This little child coffin
because
that he's bringing in.
Yeah, so I think it's a child coffin.
Like a dead baby that he tried to like resurrect or like a chimp.
Yes. Then he opens. So I'm thinking it's like a chimp or an animal or something. Then he opens it and it's like you can kind of see some stuff inside kind of obscured. And I was like, is that a fucking violin? What the hell is that? And then he starts pulling out these like cloached, things, and it's full on the, Barbie color reveal, like tubes with the little Queen of Hearts, or like actually she's very Queen Victoria, right?
Yeah.
The Queen. And like the king.
So lovely. Queen.
Yes. And the king is very like, what is he? Henry VIII or whatever. And they just have like the little high pitched squeaky voices, the little cousinette voice
noises.
Yes,
and we're presumed that he made them from scratch.
He grew them.
He grew them. Yeah. So homunculi are a alchemist kind of thing. The science back in the day felt that sperm was all that was needed to make life.
Yep.
So it's literally injected in an egg.
The recipe is so gross.
So they're sort of like the OG test tube baby.
Yeah. So yes, in a way, yes. But like of course, it being 1935, they can't like go really into like the alchemy of it, or something like that. But like. My favorite part is when the king like climbs out of his little tiny
bell
jar and like is going after the queen, and then he like takes like Pretorius takes like clamps like put her back in the jar. That got it banned in Japan.
Oh wow! Why is that?
Too horny.
It was making fun of a king. It was making fun of a king.
Interesting.
That's why.
That's a pretty cool effect too, because that looks That looks pretty solid. Of when he puts them back in the jar.
All the stuff with the miniatures I thought were really good.
The mermaid. I experimented with some seaweed, and this is what came out.
I damn near lost my mind when I saw the mermaid. I was like, no fucking way. And then, come to find out...
like a tiny devil.
The little devil was amazing. I love that he was just like a handsome man in a suit. I was like, okay, that's cute. I love it.
Pretorius being himself is like, he bears a striking resemblance to myself. Or am I just... like calm down.
But the craziest thing I read on the IMDb trivia is that there was like an extra one that was like cut for time or something, and it was baby Billy Barty.
Oh,
Billy Barty, infant in a high chair.
I love Billy Barty.
My God. And I love that they were like, okay, A, they're homunculi, so they're going to be tiny. B, it's going to be a baby homunculus, so it'll be even tinier.
So we got to get a baby dwarf.
And B, we're going to get a dwarf baby.
So, I wonder how old Billy Barty was back, like, in 1935. Like, is this literally...
He must have been pretty young. I wonder if that image exists anywhere online.
It says that there's, like, cutaways where you can kind of see it, like, off to the side, but I don't know.
Like, you can kind of see the extra jar that he would have been, and you can kind of see it. Billy Barty was born in 24, so he would have been 11 years old.
Wow. Playing a baby.
Yeah. So Pretorius is, like, trying to, like, get Henry, like, involved in another experiment. And Henry's like, no, I found Christianity.
Blah, 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 blah,
the
blah.
Lord won't let me... I'm on the straight and narrow. I'm marrying this chick.
So what I kind of had, I mean, it kind of was confusing at first, but then I remembered, okay, the whole thing is they got the body of this hanged man, and then they got this other brain from somewhere else in the first movie. So in this one, Pretorius is saying, you provide a body, and I will grow us a brain.
Yeah.
So I never really understood that, until like this recent watching that I just watched.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, that explains so much about the bride. When the bride comes out, is like she's got like this grown brain head. So that's why she's all like skittering head around, going like that noise she made when she.
Yeah, this is like her birth, because it's not like it's the brain of a person who was alive and died. It's like a brand new brain. So she's just like, what the shit is going on? Who are you people? What is that crazy green man?
I mean, to be fair, she would have been like a newborn. So and like that's the kind of like when she does like lean, like when she first like this kind of like Michael Jackson lean when she's starting to walk.
Well, another thing that I read was that Elsa was like 5'2" or something. So she is on some major like Herman Munster platforms underneath that.
Because she's so teeny,
yeah. Because she was taller than Henry, than Baron Frankenstein.
And the hair makes her look bigger too.
Well, but even her head was like
5 inches.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about the monster and his like quest in the forest.
All of a sudden, I feel so sorry for the monster in this movie.
Yes.
Because, I mean, they start out with him just killing a bunch of peeps, and then he's just kind of wandering through the forest, and he just wants some frickin' rotisserie chicken.
Seriously. Burning his hands all over the place.
This entire movie, Frankenstein just wants some rotisserie chicken. Give him some rotisserie chicken.
And then I'm thinking too, I'm like, but like, would he even eat like chicken, like on the spit? Like he's like this grotesque creature, but I'm like, well, I guess if he's kind of like a zombie or something.
When he was drinking wine,
he'd still eat.
When he was drinking wine, I half expected it to come out of his bolts.
Oh, that would have been
like Herman Munster style.
Yeah, that'd have been really good. So,
the scenes with like the forest and all that are just freaking gorgeous.
They're that's cool.
Like and this is all on a soundstage. I noticed that. Like it's all on a soundstage. And so it's like this pastoral scene where there's like a shepherdess, and then she falls in the water, And and I feel so sorry because the monster pulls her out like to save her, and then he's like waving over her face like, no, like don't scream, no, but he can't talk, so he's like,
Yeah.
and she's like screaming, and these freaking hunters come and just shoot him,
Straight up shoot him in the arm. Yeah.
Just shoot him, and he's like, no, when he like runs off.
Meanwhile, if he hadn't fished that idiot girl out of this pond, she probably would have drowned. Like she's just like frolicking on this cliff over this waterfall.
Yeah, just frolicking on this, like frolicking on this cliff.
He should have left her in there.
I want to talk about his relationship with the hermit.
His domestic partnership?
His domestic partnership with the hermit.
It's totally like a gay marriage.
He's just like, well, I guess we live together now.
I guess we're married. We found each other.
So the monster is like being pursued. The hunters go and get like they get like an angry mob,
a posse,
a Simpsons style mob.
Literally, yeah. And he's brought to the dungeon in whatever Eastern European village Frankenstein takes place in. And a little trivia, the name of that village is Vassaria, as witnessed in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman.
Interesting.
So the Burgermeister, who's this little like skinny English dude who was also in The Invisible Man, he like hauls him off to the dungeon, and they put him in this giant like way overdone chain set,
which he makes short work of.
Oh yeah, and then he just tears off that door like it's made of cardboard.
Well, it probably was.
It probably was.
Before they do that, so there's a lot of religious imagery in this movie. So when the hunters catch the Frankenstein monster, they put him in like almost a cruciform. Like he is almost on a cross. And they haul him up, and it is very much a religious symbolism. In fact, I believe part of what the censors didn't like about it was that it was almost blasphemous. That
like the Christ figure is this monster.
Yeah. There's also a scene that was cut where Frankenstein's monster is going through like a cemetery, and he sees Jesus on a cross, and he's kind of got like because he was just in like a cruciform himself, he like tries to like pull the Jesus statue off the cross, and they cut that scene too.
Yeah, that's out.
So meanwhile, Minnie is just chilling in the town. I don't know why, but she's just chilling in the town, and she's like, you make sure he doesn't get out there. You make sure. Like she's like cussing out the Burgermeister. And then Frankenstein, of course, escapes. He escapes. It's what he does. And he goes through a rampage through the town. I counted like 5 people that he like killed off screen.
Sure. Yeah. He's just, because when he's trying to get away, he plows through a couple of people and they fall down. You assume he's like killing them, but yeah. And then when those guys do come to get him, they're like, he's the one that's been like murdering half the town. And I was like, oh, that's a little hyperbole. But then I was like,
he kind of is.
He kind of is.
Well, they show like the lady with all the little children that I'm presuming is the school, and she's like, "Where is Valerie?" or whatever the little girl's name is.
Oh yeah.
And then like one of the look, and then she's like, "Oh no!" Like
that was kind of sad.
All the murders are off screen.
Yeah,
but the monster does kill like at least 5 or 6 people when he's escaping.
Yeah, he does it with those gypsies.
Yeah, so the gypsy family, I don't like saying that term, but I guess like the traveler family.
They're like Halloween carnival gypsies too. They're kind of the fun gypsies.
Yeah. So they're cooking a rotisserie chicken. He just wants his rotisserie chicken. The grandma's smoking her like pipe, and she's like, it needs salt and pepper. And then like the monster comes by, and this is like seconds ago. The mother's like, come closer, the monster's out, and it's like, oh no, the Burgermeister got him. The monster's like, and they're like, they run away.
Yeah, and he continues to like have his issues with fire.
Yeah, because he like reaches right into the fire.
Well, yeah, he grabbed that chicken. I mean, bad move.
Yeah, he just grabs it. So he leaves the campfire and he hears a violin playing Ave Maria.
Yeah.
again, the like religious symbolism of the movie, and he comes to the hermit, and the hermit was like, I guess, praying for a friend, like Lilo and Stitch or something.
Yes.
Like,
is he supposed to be like? He's not supposed to be like a monk or anything. He's just kind of in like this Obi-Wan Kenobi
He's
robe.
just blind and alone in his cabin.
Sure.
He really can't leave. Hopefully somebody's coming around to drop him off food or something.
I mean, he's got plenty of wine, so he must be seeing somebody, because where is he getting these bottles of wine from?
I have so many questions about this hermit. He pulls out a cigar. Who's bringing him
the
cigars?
tobacco, all of that.
He's got all his food. Like, he's blind and out in like, and it's kind of like implied that he's like far in the woods,
Pretty isolated.
Like it's far in the woods, but he's like, the monster comes in and he's blind, so he doesn't see it, and he's like, "Oh, you're afflicted too. You cannot speak."
He's mute.
And it's like I'm getting like teary eyed in this scene because it's so sweet that he's like he's like praying like, "Oh, thank you, Lord, for bringing me someone," and then they cut like they like illuminate the cross in that scene as it like blacks out. Like,
yeah, that's very like theater light, like theater lighting. We have a little clip of the hermit with the monster. We'll take a listen to that.
We shall be friends. I have prayed many times for God to send me a friend. It's very lonely here, and it's been a long time since any human being came into this hut. I shall look after you, and you will comfort me. Now you must lie down and go to sleep. Yes, yes. Now you must sleep. Our Father, I thank thee, that in thy great mercy thou hast taken pity on my great loneliness, and now out of the silence of the night hast brought two of thy lonely children together, and sent me a friend to be a light to mine eyes and a comfort in time of trouble.
I love this like melodramatic organ music.
That organ music,
background.
oh my god, it's amazing.
Ave Maria.
Yeah, it's very like soap opera
like
organ music.
That scene was making me cry. Like, I was like getting teary eyed. I was like,
He teaches him what a friend is. It's sort of Frankenstein's first grasp of language.
And it takes a blind man.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
well, so the press for this whole movie was "the monster speaks." Like, that was like the tagline. Like, the monster speaks.
Oh no!
And Boris Karloff did not want the creature to speak. I guess he wore like dentures or something. Yeah. And in the first movie, he didn't have them in, so it gave him like sunken cheeks. Like, it looked like a corpse. Like, more sunken cheeks.
Yeah, that's why he looked so different in this movie. Also, what I noticed about how different he looked, I thought a lot of it had to do with, you know, that removable bridge work to give him that like sunken face in the first movie. But what I finally figured out was that he has more hair in the first movie, like Herman Munster style.
Sure.
Has a little bit like of a little Caesar cut.
He has this little flat top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this movie, I feel like they kind of took that away, and he looks a little bit more like road weary because of the windmill explosion. So I'm thinking, yeah,
he's a little weathered down.
He's a little burned up and singed.
The makeup design for the creature in this movie was supposed to reflect the fact that, yes, he did get burned a lot in the windmill.
Yeah.
Even they right before the creature saves that stupid shepherdess, he's looking in the water and he sees his reflection and he kind of like pushes it away because he sees, you know, what he looks like. And as the movie progresses, his injuries are kind of healing a little bit. So that's part of the genius of Jack Pierce's makeup design for this movie.
Yeah.
All that.
Now, I have not read The Modern Prometheus, but is the character not pretty verbal in the book? Like, he's pretty smart, right? He's just like, he just can hold a conversation and has TED Talks.
No, the creature is a genius in the book. Like, he is super smart.
And he's the villain of the book, right? Because he becomes like a murderer.
Yeah, the creature is like plotting. He like plots stuff. He like killed Victor Frankenstein's younger brother and blamed it on a local girl, but like Victor knew that it was the monster. Like the whole story is it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
He's more verbal, he's more articulate, and he's cunning.
Yeah.
So he's out for Victor in the book.
Interesting.
I don't remember Bob De Niro doing any of that in the Kenneth Branagh movie.
Well, I mean, for me, I really take as canon, and where I'm getting all of my information from is the Stephen Sommers masterpiece Van Helsing.
Sure.
Because that, to me, is the most accurate representation of all of these properties.
Representation of the Universal Monsters canon.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That over bloated.
I'm going to take a little segue right now, since you did mention Van Helsing.
Yeah.
There have been numerous attempts to kind of reboot the Universal Monsters.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
In 1997, there was a TV movie, House of Frankenstein, with like Terry Polo as a lady werewolf.
I kind of remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being like on NBC.
Sure.
Of course it was on NBC. And I guess in 1991 there was supposed to be a TV remake of Bride of Frankenstein, and I don't want to tip of my tongue. I'm trying to remember who the director was. Scorsese. Scorsese wanted to direct it.
Okay.
Then, of course, there was Van Helsing. And then there was the whole Sexy Lady Mummy movie that came out in 2017.
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I feel like the 90s had an unofficial reboot of the Universal Monsters, starting with Bram Stoker's Dracula. And you mentioned a bit ago Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, directed by Kenneth Branagh, which I have not seen.
I saw it a long time ago.
And I know that Helena Bonham Carter kind of plays an analog to...
She's Elizabeth and the Bride.
And the Bride.
Plays Elizabeth and the Bride, yeah.
Sure.
So.
And then in the 80s, there was the shitty Roger Corman...
Unbound.
Frankenstein Unbound. And then there was...
91, and that had Raul Julia.
Was it 91? Okay, yeah, it was 91. And then when was The Bride with Sting and Jennifer Beals?
The Bride was 1985, and The Bride, like, when you just list the cast, it sounds
it's crazy.
It sounds like a Chloe Sevigny, like, skit by Drew Doge.
Oh, yeah, the amount of
crazy
names.
The Bride, starring Clancy Brown, Jennifer Beals.
And Sting.
And Sting.
Now, okay, which one has Michael Hutchins from INXS as Shelley? Is that The Bride or is that Frankenstein Unbound?
Gothic? There was... let me look this up.
I think it might be Frankenstein Unbound that I'm thinking of, because one of them has Michael Hutchins from INXS as Shelley. As Percy Shelley.
Like Shelley.
Yeah.
There was a movie in 1985 that was directed by Ken Russell that was about the whole like summer that they wrote Frankenstein.
Sure. Yes.
That whole night.
Was not Michael Hutchins. That was Gabriel Byrne played Lord Byron.
Gabriel Byrne, yeah, I remember that.
Played Percy Shelley, and Natasha Richardson played Mary Shelley.
Interesting.
Yeah, because isn't there like a whole story of that they were all like out drinking and they all decided to write all of these horror novels?
Yeah.
So the joke with me and my friends is that Lord Byron was such a poop that Mary Shelley created a whole new brand of literature with science fiction. And Dr. Polidori basically created vampire fiction based on just how much of like Lord Byron was a dumbass.
Okay, so listen to this. Roger Corman's Frankenstein Unbound that was actually released in 1990. Listen to this cast.
Okay.
Listen to this cast. Mary Shelley.
All right.
Bridget Fonda.
Love it.
My God, no.
Lord Byron, Jason Patrick.
Love it.
And Percy Shelley, Michael Hutchins from NXS.
Mm-mm.
That is a
What a
fuckable.
cast.
That is a fuckable three-way right there.
I feel like I need to rewatch this. I feel like I know that I've seen it on the Sci-Fi Channel in like the 90s.
I always remember the poster because it was an eyeball, and the eyeball had three different colors of the irises were all stitched together.
Yes.
And as a kid, I was just like, oh, that looks so scary. And my sister, being a huge NXS fan, she was like, we have to see this movie. And my dad was like, you're not seeing that movie. So we never saw it.
What? And then, of course, if we're going to talk about 90s Frankenstein movies, we have to talk about Frankenhooker.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Frankenhooker, which I love.
On a date? Got some money?
I was thinking about that when the bride is right before she's laying on the
The
slab and they're setting her up with the kites and all of that stuff, and her bandages that cover her body when she's still completely covered up, she's got some like cone boobies, some like Gautier like cone boobies made of those bandages, and I was like, look at those Franken titties. And then I remembered in my head, I was like, oh man, Frankenhooker, I forgot about that one.
So let's just have a moment of silence for the Angelina Jolie, Javier Bardem, Bride of Frankenstein that will never.
That was supposed to be a thing. Gal Gadot was sort of rumored on the internet, but I don't know if anything's going to be happening with that script.
Well, I mean, with The Invisible Man being like such a hit, maybe there's hope for the Universal monsters to live again.
And the Lee Whannell Invisible Man just sort of happened that the new Dark Universe was off the table. They were not going to do it, and they just sort of took a meeting with Lee Whannell of, okay, you have a pitch for the Invisible Man, let's hear it.
Yeah.
And you can't go over like $20 million in your budget. And it was one of the few hits of 2020 so far.
Yeah.
But it was like
the legacy will be a big
I mean, the thing about the Invisible Man was that it was this kind of like modern take on the material, and the Invisible Man can have this modern take. I feel like with this material, you can't really update Frankenstein. Like, what does it turn into?
And you can't go right into Bride of Frankenstein too. I don't know if it really works like that.
Yeah,
you have to do Frankenstein to get to Bride of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, now I want to watch. Now I want to watch Branna's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein because I want to see.
It's so weird. Like he uses amniotic fluid that he collects from like women giving birth, to birth the monster. And he uses ills.
Hey, stem cells, man. That he was onto something.
There you go.
I feel like Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein's like the straight cousin of Bram Stoker's Dracula. They don't talk a lot.
Yeah. So the monster, after he gives himself third-degree burns on his hands eating rotisserie chicken at the gypsy camp, another freaking angry mob is chasing after him, and he finds himself in the cemetery, and he chases after. He finds two grave robbers, one of which is played by one of my all-time favorite Universal Monster players, Dwight Frye. He plays Carl.
Now, tell me if I'm wrong, is this not the same actor that plays in Dracula?
Fritz.
No, but he's Fritz in the first movie. Renfield in Dracula. That's what I thought. Now,
so many Universal Monster movies.
Now, let me say
I have
this.
a crush on him.
I was going to say, you just said you have a little bit of a crush on him. Let me say this. When he's Renfield, I know he's supposed to be crazy eyes and stupid, but it's like, he's kind of hot. He's handsome.
I was like, yeah. And he's like, fly everywhere. And it's like, ooh, honey, you got some fly.
Yeah, he's got a handsome face. They ugly him up in this one. They dirty him up because he's a grave robber.
Oh my god, he looks ass. He's got like a unibrow And so he plays Carl, and then there's another grave robber named Ludwig, and they're kind of like the Horace and Jasper of Cruella de Vil.
They are.
Dr. Pretorius. So this is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, because Dr. Pretorius is just hanging out in this mausoleum, drinking wine and
having a glass of wine.
Like that's
making a whole evening of it.
Why not?
So he sends Ludwig and Carl to get a fresh body, and kind of like alludes like, you know, out there you'll be killed, you'll be put to the noose. And Carl says the funniest line in the whole movie. He says, this isn't the life for a murderer. I should just turn myself in and do what's best with the noose, or something like that.
Yeah, I noted that line when he said it. I was like, holy shit, that's dark, dude.
He's like, this isn't the life for a murderer. I should just turn myself in.
Get the death penalty. Yeah.
So Pretorius meets the creature, and it's kind of like very much like the creature walks along. Rah,
yeah.
And Pretorius is like, oh, hello. Like,
funny seeing you here.
Yeah. He's on board. He knows what's up. I mean, this is a man who's created like his own tiny town. He's not going to be scared of some flat-headed like.
Offers him a cigar.
Fire. Oh, smoke good.
I love that the monster takes like one hit of the stogie and is just like, fuck yeah, I am in flavor country. He loves it, dude. He is about that smoking life.
He's like those bears that you see at the bar that are just smoking a big old cigar.
Gross.
So Pretorius is trying to like explain the experiment to the creature. Really what he's trying to do is he's trying to make the creature on his side.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me hate Frankenstein. And like he's getting the creature on his side. He's giving him wine. He's sweet talking him. And then the whole scene from the beginning of Weird Science, the whole scene that you know from the, you make man like me? No, woman red. Meanwhile, I'm over here texting my friend. I'm like, give the monster a gay guy. Give him make another guy.
He won't care. I don't think the monster would mind. He just wants somebody.
He just wants a companion.
Yeah.
He just wants. The monster is
he's pan.
He's fluid.
I think he's more pansexual. He doesn't mind. Yeah, it could be anybody.
He might actually be aromantic because
true. Yeah.
Also, I had the most disturbing thought. I'm like, does Dr. Pretorius just expect the monster and the bride to just bang?
He wants to start like a new race of like zombie people.
I'm like, are they going to have sex? Is that what he's expecting?
That's his end game.
I hope that Frankenstein's parts work. I don't know.
Well, he does in Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, it does in Young Frankenstein.
We just rewatched Young Frankenstein too.
Young Frankenstein. And I'm going to be very controversial. I love Dracula Dead and Loving It.
It's been a while since I've seen that one.
You know,
that's definitely the black sheep of the Mel Brooks catalog.
Yeah, I would probably have a soft spot for it. It's been too long. We'll check it out. We'll check it out this Halloween season. We got nothing else to do.
So off screen, Henry and Elizabeth got married. Like they literally got married off screen. And Elizabeth is wearing this fabulous fur stole.
Yes. Yeah.
Like this like fur trim and like a fascinator. And like Henry's kind of like he doesn't really want to do the experiment. He's kind of negging on it.
Yeah.
So Pretorius literally knocks down the door. Like he like comes in like Maleficent, like full on Disney villain moment, comes out of the dark and like threatens Henry. And like, no. Pretorius does come in, but then like Henry's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then he's like, well, I have something that might change your mind.
Yep.
And he goes to the window and is like that, and the monster comes in and like smashes down the door, and
he speaks.
He's just, you.
He's taught him words.
Yeah.
So the first thing Henry says to the monster in Frankenstein was sit. And now the monster's kind of turning it on Frankenstein, like, you shit.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
And he flat out kidnaps Elizabeth, just right there, just like
over the shoulder.
Yep.
And the whole household is like, oh, and then like Pretorius is like flat out like, your Baroness. This is because he did mention she's a Baroness. Your Baroness will come back fine. Henry just has to go with me for this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the cruise. That's like where the action is starting. This is where the rising action, because the movie's like got like about 15 minutes left. Because Universal monster movies are all about an hour and 10 minutes, and they're perfect to put on before you go to bed.
Short and sweet. You can even put them on when you're going to bed.
Yeah,
like to fall asleep too.
Short and sweet, kind of ASMR-y. Dr. Pretorius is like clicking on a can for like a few minutes.
Yeah.
Like in the background, you hear like.
Yeah, the whole scene with, bringing the bride to life. Well, my question is if Henry was just so against this, like they procured this body. Oh well, I guess Pretorius's lackeys got the body.
So Carl and Ludwig have the bodies.
Sure.
They've been robbing graves because the scene where we meet Pretorius and the monster meets Pretorius, he's over a gravestone reading, blah, 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 died 1899, 19 years of age.
All we really need Henry for is his equipment.
Well,
I mean,
Pretorius
let's be real.
doesn't really have knowledge to do the experiment, and yes, he does need the equipment.
Yeah.
There's a really gruesome scene. The Carl mentions like the heart. Henry's working on the heart of the bride, and it's like, I need something more fresh. I need a fresher heart. And then Pretorius is like, well, Carl, go find one that's been in a recent accident. And he kind of like does this like kind of wink to him.
Yeah.
And then like Henry's like, accidents happen so frequently. And then Carl comes back like not even like, it's like less than a scene later. He comes back with like a fresh heart. And he's like, I paid the gendarme 50 francs. And then he's like, where did you get it? And he's like, it was a police case like that. But before he goes, he mentions something like, I'll just hold her down. I'll put my knife into her chest and I'll hold her down. And I'm like, this is dark.
Dark.
It's dark. It's
yeah.
Like, oh my.
Well, especially for like a 1935 audience too.
And for a second, I'm like, is he going to kill Elizabeth?
Yeah.
And I read
so too.
I read somewhere, an author, I believe Kim Newman, had an early script. There's been like 4 or 5 different rewrites of the script when they originally announced that they were going to make Bride of Frankenstein. And they kept like sending it to the Hays Code, and they would say, no, this can't be in it. And they'd bring it back and they'd write it again. And there was a scene where it was Elizabeth's heart that Carl cut out.
Sure.
And that's where it comes from. And that's kind of like where we get it from in Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein.
I wonder if they would have used that same actress as the bride.
Probably.
Probably.
They just took her heart, though.
Yeah.
They already got the body. So, okay, we need to jump ahead to the bride becoming animated and her interaction with the monster, because this is what everybody paid to see. The whole thing is that, the Bride of Frankenstein is canonically a universal monster. She's on all the t-shirts and all the posters, and she's in all the Tumblr images with,
she has a maze this year at Universal Studios Florida.
I love that.
They're like COVID appropriate maze is themed after Bride of Frankenstein.
You can admire her from a distance.
All the Tumblr fan art that has like both Morticias, Vampira, Elvira, Lily Munster, and Bride of Frankenstein.
She's inspired so many goth cholas. It's not even funny.
I know.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
Put some like sleeve tattoos on her, and you're good to go.
Yes, indeed. But the big like gag is that she's got 3 minutes of screen time?
5 minutes at most.
It's so I was saying the reason why Elsa Lanchester has her little Mary Shelley prologue is because she literally has no lines as the bride.
Yeah.
She is acting. She is acting.
She is acting up a storm. Yes.
Like she has this kind of dead stare, like this, like dead, like she doesn't know where she is. She does this like jerky motion. I read somewhere her hiss was inspired by gooses.
Mm-hmm.
That's about right.
Not that weird noise that she makes when she first comes out. She has this like.
Yeah, she does.
James Well had made so many cuts of the hiss scene that like she lost her voice. She was like, "Are we done, James? Can I have some tea?" No, again, okay.
I mean, like we said before, her face is so beautiful. This look is so simple. Because like you have ideas of what it is in your head of what she's wearing, but it's really just a sheet with wrapped up arms.
Yeah.
And then the hair. She has these slight scars across her jawline.
Yeah, it's like a delicate stitch work. Like, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is really beautiful is what it is. And she's got those the hair, come on.
And we're led to believe that the hair And we're led to believe that the hair just kind of poofed up when she got electricity through her. Yeah.
It like electrodes through her.
Yeah, she got electrocuted.
So the hair was designed to look like Nefertiti, the Egyptian pharaoh.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Like, have Nefertiti hair.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so sorry for the monster after the bride comes, because like he's like, friend?
Oh my god, it's so sad.
How is he going to compete with that?
And then they sit her down next to him, and she's like, scream, the like famous scream.
Yeah.
It's in moments like this that you can really tell that James Whale came from the theater.
Yeah.
That this is sort of staged like it would be in a play.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's so sad that they decided to go with this grown brain situation, which probably contributed to her being so off-put by the monster. And, all this time, like, again, this is not one of those movies that I just put on. I unfortunately have not watched it a lot of times. So I have the ideas of lines and scenes and the imagery, and the "We Belong Dead" line is iconic. Iconic line in movie, not only like Universal Monster, but just like movie history. But to me, I think most people kind of take it that he's saying it to her. But I feel like he's kind of more so saying it to Dr. Pretorius, like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
so this is another case of studio meddling, because Henry was supposed to die. He was supposed to die with all of them.
Makes more sense.
But they wanted like a happy ending. They wanted to have a happy ending.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth somehow escapes. Like they literally, the scene before the bride is brought to life. Elizabeth is like tied up, and they have like a telephone, like years before telephones were invented. Pretorius is like, she will speak to you on this electronic device.
Device.
No, I'm in a cave, Henry. And like, I have no idea how the hell this woman got out of her binds. I have no idea how she got to like where they're doing the experiment in like minutes, because it's literally minutes. But she's on the other end of like this bar door, like, Henry, come with me, please, quick. And the monster has this switch that's supposed to like blow up, like it'll blow us to atoms. Like, why would you put that switch there?
Right? I know.
That's a bad design choice, Dr. Pretorius.
Yeah, wrong lever.
Wrong lever. So Pretorius is supposed to like the monster is very adamant, like, you go, you live,
Yep.
we belong dead. And he is saying that to Pretorius, like, you don't deserve to live.
Yeah.
You belong dead.
Yeah. But also, like you said, Henry's actual bride makes this crazy, like,
She
trip
is the bride of...
Yeah, she is the Bride of Frankenstein. But, like, once they pull that lever, the two of them are on foot. That entire castle just implodes within moments. Yeah. I don't know how the hell she pulled out a magic carpet out of her like purse or something, because there's no way they made it out of that alive.
No way. Well, so the original cut, and it was super expensive, and they were already like over $100,000 over budget for this movie. So the original cut, Henry is inside the lab when it's exploding, and you can kind of still see it. So it's exploding, and you see Henry and like the explosions.
There's the wide shots.
Yeah, but he gets away, and then it's the whole like the end. This is a Universal picture. The like
little plane
flying around the globe, which in Xanadu becomes a spaceship.
So the title of this movie is The Bride of Frankenstein. And I wonder, because in, the modern age, and even as a child growing up in the 80s, Frankenstein is the monster. Like you just grow up thinking, when you hear the name Frankenstein, you think of the creature, right? And it's one of those things where everybody gets to that age where it's like, well, Frankenstein was the doctor.
Actually,
yeah,
I was gonna say it's almost as if the advertising executives at Universal were just throwing up their arms and just saying, we're just gonna fucking call it The Bride of Frankenstein.
And I wonder if even in the 30s, everybody would look at Karloff and just be like, Frankenstein. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was that big.
This movie is really where the whole trope of the monster is also
Frankenstein.
The monster is Frankenstein. That's where it kind of like got solidified.
Yeah.
But is Frankenstein's monster not the son of Frankenstein?
Right.
Yeah.
Not make him also a Frankenstein?
True. Yes.
And does Henry/Victor Frankenstein, are they not also a monster in their own way?
Well, I mean, yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about the queer subtext of this movie, because there's been a lot that's been written on the gayness that is this movie. And it's interesting. It's just like when you just put yourself in James Whale, like he probably wasn't consciously thinking about a lot of that when he was making the movie. But when you look back all these years later, it's obviously there. So there's a little bit of like death of the author with it, that like the artist's intent are kind of removed from the audience, and this is what the audience is projecting onto the movie. But the movie works really well as this kind of parable of what it was like to be gay at this time.
Most definitely. Like, if you think about it this way, think about a gay subtextual reading of the monster's experience.
Yeah.
Being chased from town to town by angry villagers. Being blamed for everything wrong that happened in the village. There is a scene that's cut where a character kills his uncle and blames it on the monster.
Yeah.
And was also by Dwight Fry, and that was cut. Think about the fact that the monster has kind of like a happy home life with the hermit, and then he's kind of
found out,
like macho hunters come in and burn down their house, basically. So yes, there is that subtext, but then there's also, like we mentioned, Dr. Pretorius being a queer-coded villain. He basically lures Henry Frankenstein away from his wedding bed.
Yeah.
To make a
family unit of their own.
Yeah, to create life on their own. And I mean, this is completely the celluloid closet talking right now. Like, I am literally quoting the celluloid closet. But it's very much the Nightmare on Elm Street 2 of the Universal Monsters canon.
Yeah. If anybody's interested, any of our listeners who have not seen the movie Gods and Monsters,
I would definitely recommend it. It's one of my all-time favorites.
I cannot. If you love Universal Monsters, I cannot suggested enough.
Yeah.
You get
It is so good.
You get a little perspective on James Whale's experience in the studio system because he was not necessarily in the closet. He was very open with his sexuality, that everyone at Universal knew that he was gay, and they just sort of trusted him to make these movies for kind of the masses because he knew how to put on a show.
It was kind of an open secret.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, look at how queer the cast was. I mean, Edwin Thesiger, who played Pretorius, may or may not have been. There's been rumors that he was and wasn't. Colin Clive was definitely bisexual. Elsa Lanchester was married to Charles Lawton, and if you believe Full Service by Scotty Powers...
Oh, definitely. Do a Google search on that one.
Yeah. So she was kind of like a big fruit fly herself. So it was very much like a queer cast. And that kind of like bled into the movie when they created it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, to say nothing of the fact that it's starring the very dreamy Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, and he's even styled to be like the monster.
He's the monster,
too.
yeah.
One of my favorite moments of Gods and Monsters is when who's the actor who's the entertainment reporter?
It is Jack Plotnick.
Jack Plotnick. He's like a college student.
We love Jack Plotnick.
We love that scene where he's sitting by the pool and every question that he asks James, he has to take off an item of clothes. But my favorite scene is when he orchestrates this reunion of all of the monsters with Elsa Lanchester, with Boris Karloff, and they're at a party for Queen Margaret at
Princess
Margaret at the director of Gigi's
house.
Sure. Who is that? That's
I'll find it.
But I love the look on Elsa Lancaster's face when they're posing for the photo, and she's just like, James, isn't it great to be famous? And you can just tell that she is just so fucking over this movie. That she's been recognized.
It's the 60s. Yeah. We're at Vincent Minnelli's house at a party. It's like fucking 35 years later, and they're like, here, just get together for this picture for the Inquirer. They're going to love it.
Colin Clive wasn't in that scene, though, was he?
No, because he died in like 37. Yeah, he died like...
Yeah, he died in 37. So.
Yeah, he died right after this movie. Yeah. He must have made like one or two more movies after this.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because Colin Clive's IMDb, he has fully like 2 or 3 more movies after Bride of Frankenstein, and he died in 1937, but that was a studio system. Bitch, you were making movie after movie. Yeah.
I was... So since this Halloween, I've been very much like on a Universal Monsters kick. I've been like reading how many freaking movies Lon Chaney Jr. made.
Oh my god!
How many movies Karloff made? Like just so many because they just cranked them out, cranked them out. And even towards the end of the studio system, when they made Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, like they're still cranking out Abbott and Costello movies.
I was gonna say, when did Bela Lugosi make his way into the Frankenstein like universe? Was it Meets the Wolfman, or was it in Ghost of Frankenstein? Is when he played Eagle. Oh my god!
I think it was maybe Son of Frankenstein, but Ghost of Frankenstein is when they put his brain in the monster.
Oh my god!
And then in the very next movie, Bela Lugosi in Wolfman, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, Bela Lugosi is playing the monster, and he has a beauty mark on his chin. It's a beauty mark right there.
Why not?
I do have an update. What party they go to? It's George Cukor.
It's George Cukor. Oh, okay, it's not. It's not Vincent Minnelli.
It's not Vincent Minnelli.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the George Cukor party?
Even gayer.
It would have been a very gay party. It would have been a gay party.
I love that,
and I love how.
And I love people to that party.
And I love how George Cukor, or like how James Whale talks about George Cukor, like that old queen, like that one. I guess I'll go.
Yeah, I have to say, Ian McKellen. I mean, listeners, if like we said, if you're not familiar with this movie,
robbed of the Oscar.
These performances are insane.
Lynn Redgrave is so good.
Oh my god!
And
oh my god. Lynn Redgrave.
And Lynn Redgrave is sort of James Wales's Igor that's looking after him.
Yeah, that's very deep.
Yeah.
He's both his Igor and his Minnie.
There you go. I love it. Yeah, we'll definitely put some clips. We'll definitely put some clips of Gods and Monsters on the social media accounts. But that's definitely worth checking out if you're interested in this whole making of.
So do you think that almost James Whale is the source of why gay men just gravitate towards horror? Do you think that he's sort of like
started it all?
So, I mean, that's a very interesting posit to think of.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down to it, gay men are drawn to horror because we are othered.
Yeah.
We enjoy stories of people who are othered, and also stories of others who strike back.
Yeah,
Frankenstein flat out kills 10 people in this movie, and that's just because he just wants his rotisserie chicken.
That's another thing about Gods and Monsters. We keep going back to it, but there are these really fun flashback scenes in it, and there's a lot of really cool flashback stuff where they're there at during the production of Bride of Frankenstein.
It's the laboratory scene.
That's the thing. Yeah, because I was like, Colin Clive wouldn't have been at George Cukor's party. He would have been dead by then.
Yeah.
So.
But, it has these actors portraying Colin Clive and portraying, Ernest Thesiger. And the actor that's portraying, Dr. Pretorius, I mean, come on, with this delivery, here it is.
The Bride of Frankenstein.
Just rolling those R's. The Bride of Frankenstein. We have to get a screenshot of his his little hands, his little mincing hands.
Now walk. So, Mitch, what do you think of the Universal catalog of the monsters? Who's your favorite?
I would say Lon Chaney as the Phantom of the Opera, followed by Claude Rains, the Invisible Man.
Now, Lon Chaney's Phantom of the Opera, that's the color, or is that the black and white silent?
That's the silent one.
Okay.
The color one's cockadoodle.
The
color one's boring. We have the Blu-ray set, and they include the Technicolor Phantom, and kind of boring.
Oh my god,
not that great.
It's a chore.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful looking, but not a great movie.
The reason why they don't usually include Lon Chaney's silent version is because that's in the public domain. And they can't really make money
there
off
you
of
go.
that.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. I do love, though, I mean, the fact that the three of us on this podcast right now are Southern California residents. These Universal Monster movies, you're just like, oh, look, there they are. Oh, look, it's a backlot tour. Oh, look, they're in the good place.
It's still a big staple of the backlot tour.
Pointing out I kept pointing out to myself the Court of Miracles.
Court of Miracles, that's it. Yeah.
Court of Miracles. Every single Universal Monster has traversed the Court of Miracles at least once.
And that goes back to that Phantom of the Opera, that you're the silence.
Goes back to the Phantom of the Opera. At the very end of the movie, they chase the Phantom out there and vigilante justice him.
That to me blows my mind, that something that was in a movie from God knows when, what year was that, you can just sit on a tram and just, there it is.
And
drive right past it.
The Universal Tram Ride was probably one of my first big introductions to this material. Because when I was a kid, I think I just knew them by image. I didn't know a lot about the movies. So that's like a big impression for a kid that loves movies, is when they drive past those sets, and there's I can't remember what stage number it is, but there's a certain stage that they shot all of these movies at.
What is it?
Stage 28 was the stage that they filmed the Opera House for Phantom of the Opera.
Wow.
It was also where they filmed Dracula's Castle and Dracula, and I believe a few, quite a few other movies. But they kept most of the Opera House set up there, because that's where they filmed it in the 40s. That's where they filmed it, And it was also allegedly haunted by Lon Chaney's ghost.
Love it.
And now it's the home of Cloud9 on Superstore, Tuesdays on ABC.
They demolished it to build
I just made that
Nintendo Land.
Oh, Nintendo Land. I love it.
If Lon Chaney's ghost is going to haunt Nintendo Land, I'm completely here for it.
I'm there.
All right, one last thing. Marry, fuck, kill. Universal Monsters.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, you guys better be ready for Marry, F, kill, Universal Monsters.
Well, which are the
All
three? Right. You gotta lay some monsters down.
Okay, so
let's see. Mary would be Dracula.
I would marry Dracula because you get that real estate. You get that real estate. Beautiful castle on the hill. I feel like I would probably fuck Wolfman because he looks like he's pretty wild in the sack.
Ooh.
He'd be fun. He might put some scratches on your back, but hey, that might be kind of fun. And kill the 50s Phantom of the Opera.
Oh my god.
Okay, so Mary would be Dracula. The Invisible Man would be my Fudge.
Oh yeah.
That's good. That's smart. Who are you killing?
And especially he's like, I'm strong and I can throttle you. I'm like, ooh, daddy. And for kill, it would be the Mummy. It would be the original Mummy, though. Like, not the Boris Karloff one, but like the later ones in the 40s.
Yeah. I think I would also probably marry Count Dracula. Now, for fuck, I don't know if I would. I'm conflicted because, like, I think the creature. I think the creature from the Black Lagoon is like really horny. So, like, I don't know. I think the creature from the Black Lagoon is like, he's like part animal. Well, he's like all animal. He's like super horny. So he's up there. But also,
someone's seen Shape of Water.
Yeah. But also, like, Frankenstein's monster is like 7 feet tall.
Climb him like a tree.
So you know what that means. So that's a toss-up right there. And then kill, I mean, who cares? Like, kill the Wolfman, kill the Phantom. So that's mine. Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I think it's time to wrap it up. I think it's time for final thoughts. Did we leave anything out? Does anybody have any final thoughts on The Bride of Frankenstein and this queer-ass movie?
I have a little final thought that I liked from Roger Ebert's review on great movies for Bride of Frankenstein. Seen today, Whale's masterpiece is more surprising than it. Seen today, Whale's masterpiece is more surprising than when it was made because today's audiences are more alert to buried hints of homosexuality, necrophilia, and sacrilege. But you don't have to deconstruct it to enjoy it. It's satirical, exciting, funny, and an influential masterpiece of art direction. It's a beautifully made movie.
Yes, indeed.
It really is. Like I was saying about the scenes in the forest with the sylvan background.
Yeah, they're super cool. I get a little Wizard of Oz, like with those like forest scenes too. Just those painted backdrops, very beautiful. Mitch, do you have any final thoughts on The Bride of Frankenstein before we say goodbye?
I honestly, out of the Universal Monsters, this is like my favorite one because it's just so like perfect. Like everything that works in it works really well.
Yeah, it holds up. It's one of the ones that for a modern audience, like we were saying, the Phantom of the Opera can get a little slow. Even Bela Lugosi's Dracula can get a little slow.
Well, and I don't like the Bela Lugosi's Dracula because I feel like it's not that great of a pass at the material, too.
Yeah. But
so Bela Lugosi's Dracula is really more of it's literally a stage play.
Yes,
it's
an
an
adaptation
script
of
of the
this
stage
play.
play and put it on screen.
Yep.
Whereas the Spanish version of Bela Lugosi's Dracula, chef's kiss, that is a better movie.
It's really good. It's on the DVD. If you can track down a copy of that DVD, which I own.
And so is the Philip Glass score.
Ah, yes, the Philip Glass
to make it
score.
extra gay.
Love it. Ah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, this has been a lot of fun recapping The Bride of Frankenstein.
Mitch, do you have a good Halloween? Do you have anything spooky planned at home to commemorate the day?
So I'm actually going to be watching a 4-day live virtual ghost hunt on the Queen Mary.
Oh my God. I love it.
I've guest starred in my friend Spooky Brucey's Halloween special. You can find it on YouTube at Spooky Brucey's Tale of Midnight. Just do a quick search.
Fun.
It should be dropping literally Halloween weekend, he says. So anytime from like Friday till Halloween. So it should be dropping soon. But besides that, I've been like, this has been like more of a creative Halloween. I've been writing like short horror stories every day in October. And, you know, I just did this podcast. So
fun. Awesome.
That's great.
Can we expect any appearances from one Mr. or one Dr. Phantasma? Professor Phantasma?
Oh, definitely, my friends. I will definitely be showing up in the Halloween special. I'll be telling the story of Stingy Jack, or as he's now known, Jack O'Lantern.
I love that. That's amazing. And that's going to be on YouTube, you said?
It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on YouTube.
Had to come out of your professor voice there.
Out of your trance.
I literally filmed it like within like 5 days in my bathroom against a black screen with like blue and green lighting and a smoke machine.
I love it. So you got to do it, man. You got to hustle. Gotta hustle. All right, Mitch. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was so much fun.
It was. Yeah. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween, Mitch.
Happy Halloween. We'll definitely have you on again soon for another spooky, ooky, kooky episode. But until then, I think it's time to say good night and have a happy
Unpleasant dreams, Mitch.
Bye, man. And thank you for listening, everybody. That was a great show.
Great one.
So much fun. We love Bride of Frankenstein. Oh, my gosh. Go watch Bride of Frankenstein if you haven't watched it. And go watch Gods and Monsters.
I think it's on Peacock.
Bride of Frankenstein.
Bride of Frankenstein. Sure. Gods and Monsters is on Prime because I was watching a little bit of it today.
Oh, fun. It's on Amazon Prime. Go watch it. Well, we've got a brand new review.
We do. This comes all the way from the land of Canada. A new review from a listener in Canada titled, Yes, 5 stars. I just love this podcast. Pete and Scott are so entertaining. I love their insights and thoughts on many of my favorite movies. Highly recommend.
Love it.
Love that.
That's so cool. Thank you so much. Does it have a listener name on there?
Oh, yes. This is from Marky581.
Marky581.
From Apple Podcasts in Canada.
Thank you so much. You know, Apple Podcasts, they segregate those
That's
reviews.
Weird. I don't like that.
So wackadoo. So if you look at our podcast in the United States on Apple Podcasts, you won't see that review.
We get notified about them, though.
We do get the notifications. And there are actually... Did we read those other 2 reviews?
We did.
We read them online already. Okay. We read them in an episode. Well, thank you for those last 2 people who wrote us. Love the reviews. And thank you for this 5-star review. We would love it if you would rate and review us on Apple Podcasts.
Read it. Or we'll read it on the air.
We will.
If you write it.
Just like we read that last one. And also give us 5 stars. If you see any stars anywhere when you're looking at our show, hit the 5th one.
Smash them to those 5.
Just smash it, man. I mean, give us 5 stars. It helps, for our show to get...
Helps visibility.
Distributed. It helps for people to find us. But thank you so much for listening. We do love all of our listeners. You can also check us out on Patreon.
Yes, Movies That Made Us Gay on Patreon.
Yes, indeed. Just
go check out our tiers on Patreon.
There's so much fun stuff. We did a new Watch With Us movie commentary.
We did H2O.
Halloween H2O. It's really fun. So if you want to sit down and watch Halloween H2O, that crazy ride, and you want to hear what me and Scott have to say about it, check us out on Patreon. Check out the tiers, and you can watch with us.
Get our cute little newsletter of the month.
Oh,
we do too.
I love it. I love the newsletter. There's 2 a month. Yeah, check us out on Patreon. And you can also check us out on Instagram and Facebook at
Movies That Made Us Gay.
And you can check us out on Twitter at
MTMUGPod.
Perfect. We got it, finally. So, thank you so much for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.